Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI summer season. We're today for the Friday tier, the Canadian Grand Prix round 3 out of 8. One more before the midway break, and it'll be a sprint race at Silverstone to finalise that one next weekend. But right now, as I say, the Montreal circuit, Circuit Villeneuve, the Canadian Grand Prix, an absolute gem. For whether that's a good reason or not, I don't quite know. Gilly goes across the line in qualifying, 6 minutes on the clock. They put themselves P6, and I say I don't know because it's an absolutely crazy circuit. Can be a great circuit to just do laps around, to be honest, but it can be very hard and dramatic when it comes to racing, so we'll see how that goes. This circuit has been banned off the official calendars for a few years now, a few seasons, and I should say, yes, a few years. Last time it was the F122 game, we saw that, and that's Charlie going off the over the line, just pretty much dead on their time, and will not improve on that one, unfortunately. But yeah, as I was saying, it's been a long time since. We are going to drive this circuit in the summer season, see how it goes. Maybe it'll make a return for the official seasons. But welcome back, Canada. The last people to race in Canada. I think Gilly might have been racing on that Saturday, but Zingy and Niffo definitely were. I think Heischler was possibly also racing on that day. It was a crazy one. For sure. Zingy went on to win that championship at the end of the season. We got some brand new drivers. We've got Krish, I was going to say in the Haas, but it's not a Haas. It is a multiplayer car, and we will be sorting out their teams very, very soon. If I haven't already put them in, I haven't already put them in. No, sorry, the reserve driver. Krish is a reserve driver. We've also got Burkle, who is brand new as well, and they are driving for, I believe, the Williams team on the Friday tier. Obviously, multiplayer cars again, so it isn't really going to make too much of a difference. Heischler currently tops the times. They are in the pit lane as it stands with an 8.9. Zingy is 2 tenths away, just 2.5 tenths away from Heischler, more or less, and Charlie only a tenth over that as well. Then Niffo is right there, so the usual top runners, and then we've got Krish right here, so they are pretty close to the top runners here right now, trying to look to go again. 4 minutes on the clock. They might not get another opportunity. It is a short lap around this circuit, so they could possibly get themselves back into the pit lane very quickly. But they make a big mistake right there. They were using the overtake, interestingly, but they stop it now. Bit of understeer, unfortunately, and they might have to try and recoup and then go again. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Niffo goes into the pit lane, and the other drivers are all in the pit lane. That's not Heischler coming out of the pit lane, is it? It is a black car, which could be Heischler. We'll quickly see. It's not going to be Heischler, because they are still not on their way out. It's not a black car coming to the end of the pit lane, it's actually going into the pit lane, so my bad there. Krish is going to come out the final few corners, and we'll see what they can do. Gilly actually continuing to run on these tyres, JJ also doing the same, and Krish is going to go again, so they do unfortunately miss out on a tyre, of course, but they're just trying to see if they can go and not invalidate and get a clean lap in, and they've unfortunately validated on the final corner, and that does mean that they are going to have to go again, and yeah, that's not exactly ideal for their situation. They're going to be in a little bit of trouble to set a lap time in time, of course, which is a hell of a shame. Alrighty, Zingy struggling with the handling of the cars, being used to playing career mode with more grip than he actually has. Still being quite close up there is pretty good. Whether it will be good enough for the race or not, we'll find out, won't we? But we'll have to wait and see how that one goes in a few moments' time. Now, we will see Gilly go again over the line, just getting laps in. So unfortunately the qualifying time won't be quite so competitive. We've got Frantic here on the circuit, and Charlie will be shortly behind them, so we'll go on board. Let's go on board with Charlie, the pole sitter from the Austrian Grand Prix. Let's see if they can try and replicate a position such as, and go pole here for the Canadian Grand Prix at the Canada circuit. It's super low grip they were complaining about. It is. It's very true. Heischler was also understanding the frustrations, but seemed a little bit more confident. Whether that will be the case when it comes to the lap times, though, we'll find out as we go on board with Charlie into the first corner, braking around where the concrete patches appear on the right-hand side. Pick your point, lead it into the apex of the corner, and follow it into the second corner. Slowly on the throttle as you go up the hill. You've got a lot of grip in these cars on the throttle. Blind corner onto the chicane. Very tricky to get right. They do go all the way to the exit to make sure they maximise their line, but they did miss the apex slightly, riding that inside curve, and it's just so loosey-goosey everywhere. DRS available as you just about get the traction down. They got a bit of traffic up in front that they've got to be careful with. Once again, final chicane before we get to the Wall of Champions chicane. We have got traffic moving out the way, which is great, but we will have a car right in front. Unfortunately, two cars who actually collide in qualifying. That's going to be very distracting for Charlie right there, even if they don't actually make contact. That is going to be Charlie coming out the final major corner as you get to, well, I say final major corner, you've got the final two corners. I'm just a little bit distracted for what's going on there. Charlie into the final chicane. What's it going to be? Is it going to be invalidation, or it will be a lap? It will be a lap, but it's all over the place on the exit. That's going to be their session done, and they come across the line to set a non-improvement. Again, a pretty much dead lap right there. Dead on time lap, I should say. Then we've got Heischler, I believe, in front of Zingy it will be. So Heischler's going to see what they can do right here, and into the hairpin they go, and they're up on their time by half a tenth, which is brilliant, but they've just lost it all on the exit as they lose the rear end. We'll go and see what Zingy's doing on his Delta, but I think they're saving and going again. They are. They're going to save and go again, crossing the line or into the pit lane as the other orange car of Geely. They will finish their session right here. Heischler is going to come across the line to actually invalidate at the very end. Unfortunately, Zingy isn't going to get time to go again. So yeah, that's a big shame there for Zingy, a big shame there for Charlie. The top three all missing out. Nifo's going to disqualify their lap or invalidate their lap. So is Krish. Frantic has already set their lap just then. And then we've got Gilly into the pit lane. Peanuts, who is going again right here. Maybe JJ might be going as well. They're right behind in the red. Peanuts is going to keep it valid for the final time. What's it going to be for the man learning no racing line? It's going to be a 9.8, and JJ will go straight into the pit lane, and that is qualifying over. Heischler is on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix, and Zingy is in P2. Now, does Zingy get that inside line into the first corner? I think he might do. We'll have to wait and see. I can't quite remember. I always forget here at Canada, but it's very important. If you've got that inside line, you're going to have a very good chance of sending it on the inside, but it still really does matter if you get a good start or not, because if you send it too hard, you're going to be involved in a crash. But Heischler has the high ground in the green car. A lovely livery on top right now. Alrighty. We're all good. Just waiting for the final retirement. And then we should be done for qualifying. And we'll get those results on your screen before we shortly head over to the race session. Sorry for the technical difficulties and the silence, but we are now back. Heischler takes pole position, Zingy in P2 and Charlie in P3. That's the rest of the grid. We'll go through the race director just in case, as it is Canada after all. And we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into the first corner? Zingy gets away very well to the outside line. Heischer's going to try and hold on into turn one, but it's not going to happen. Zingy's got it. Wide berth to leave the space. Further down the order is side by side. That is Frantic and Charlie as he jumps Niffo off the line. Frantic's going to take the advantage. Charlie's going to have to back off, and that is an awesome start there to P3 already for the Dutchman. Awesome stuff indeed. Niffo right there. Chris, we've got P6 Gilly in P7 holding their position. No switches really too much further back, but Igor's in the lobby, so welcome him, but unfortunately having an issue getting straight into it and maybe wasn't quite ready. Don't know if they've got a default setup on or not. I think they might be able to get a custom setup on. Zingy is leading the way after the first few corners, after the first half a lap, and it looks like it will probably be the first lap, but we'll get DRS on lap 2 already, and that is going to be crucial for this Grand Prix. A big bit of understeer there for Burkle, and they managed to keep it out of the wall just about as everybody comes down the main straight. I say the main straight, the back straight, the start finish straight is coming up next as they'll go into the first corner again. No DRS will be available just yet. It will be on the next lap, so we get to, that'll be turn 5, 6, 7-ish, then DRS will be kicking in first time around. Zingy gets the fastest lap, obviously, as they lead the way, and Heischler's going to be the first one to possibly attack. That's Charlie making a mistake, and it's Niffo having a look to the inside, but not quite able to get there, and Chris is trying to see if they can find a way through. ERS is being saved on exit for Niffo. It leaves him vulnerable to the white car, who's going to send it super hard to the inside. They're going to cause themselves problems, and that is going to be Gilly going for the move and taking that position. Luckily, Niffo will hold on to DRS, but Niffo's not going to be too happy with that one. Kish has got to try and think about another way round if they possibly can. And looking at the back of Gilly already, they might try something in the braking zone, and they go for the aggressive send, locking the rears a little bit to try and get the rotation on the exit. They have it done, and they will get that DRS and be absolutely fine to be able to catch back up to Niffo, who is 9/10 ahead, so they might lose out if they're not careful. It's really going to be very difficult to hold on as these guys are all in a DRS train, and it's going to be Zingy and Heischler who go side by side for the second time this race since turn 1, and Heischler takes the lead of the Grand Prix with a fastest lap to add to that. And it's still going to be a fight on the exit though. I thought they were going to switch positions, but no, Zingy had a very good exit. He will back off and realise and just get that DRS. They need to think about the long game. It's going to be a very, very tough and long race this evening. So yeah, it's going to be incredibly important to work together to try and avoid having any issues with track limits, but we'll see. Frantic doing a phenomenal job sitting in P3. That's Charlie in P4 holding position at the moment. Niffo sitting in P5. Of course, they had Grish, who was sending it to the inside earlier on. They are slowly catching up, so they've done a brilliant job right there. Gilly is holding on, but Peanut's not able to get the DRS here on Gilly. I think they might have just missed out, and that does mean that JJ and Peanuts are likely to be dropping out further behind if they're not careful, and unfortunately, I think that will be the case. Gilly's got that DRS to be dragged along with the main leaders, and we'll see how that goes. Zingy's taken the lead already into the final 2 corners as you get the double DRS, and it will basically be impossible for the car behind to be able to re-overtake. So it's very smart because it does help him, of course, for lap time purposes. It does mean that that move's already done by the time you get to the first corner. But yeah, Heischler, whether he's happy with that, I don't know. It really depends on how it played out, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine about it at lap 4 out of 35. There's such a long way to go, although it does look like Zingy has managed to find a decent bit of pace right there in the first sector. DRS will immediately cancel that out, and it will be all good for Heischler right there. Now, we've got JJ and Peanuts who switch positions to see if they can try and catch up to Gilly, but as I said, with the DRS train, 2.2 seconds, and it's only going to get bigger right there. Burkle and Igor having their issues. We've got Krish, who's right behind Niffo once again. It's not going to be easy to try and get past somebody in the DRS train, at least on the straights, but in the corners, everybody will be super bunched up, and it could get quite difficult. We'll have to find out how that one goes. Frantic sitting in P3, doing a brilliant job. but not able to get there just yet. Sitting in the DRS really does help out a lot, and you know, if you get the first few corners right, if you get the start right, you'll be absolutely fine. Brilliant car control to keep it a straight line, but it is going to lose them a lot of time, and they lose them a position as well, as Charlie's not going to take a second invitation to make that move work. Up to P3 they go. And yeah, we'll see how this one plans out, but Frantic makes their first mistake since, well, I don't think they've really made a mistake at all since what we've seen. Nifo is incredibly close to look at the back, but they broke very late, and unfortunately that is another bit of contact with Krish and Nifo, and this time Krish has taken Nifo out. Nifo's going to be absolutely furious of that one, and will drop behind Peanuts, who isn't in the DRS train. Nifo does get DRS to try and catch back up to Peanuts, but it doesn't really matter. They're out of that now, and Krish also, just to add to that pain, is out of the DRS themselves. When you take out the car a bit in between, then all of a sudden the DRS gap gets even bigger than it was before. So that is a double whammy right there, not only for Nifo's race, but for their race as well. And yeah, very disappointing, but it is what it is, and they must race on. They've just got to try and continue and make do what they've done. And, you know, if you've caused an incident, you've just got to just try and take it. Accept what comes around later on after the race, but try and get the best result you can in the meantime to make it worthwhile. They did get the DRS, sorry, right there, so they are going to be safe to catch up, but they didn't really gain that much time, to be honest, or maintain the gap at least. So they really need to push before they get into this hairpin, otherwise it could be all over, and unfortunately I think it is going to be all over because they lost even more time right there. Nifo goes for the move on Peanuts, and that is going to be a very straightforward move. Nifo does go slightly deep, but squares up the car and gets a nice exits to help them out, and they should be perfect with the DRS and be able to continue to make some good progress. Unfortunately, Gilly has lost the DRS, so it is a top 4 battle at the moment, now breaking away. Heischler is very close to the back of Zingy, not able to make a move, or not wanting to make a move at least. Charlie, on the other hand, very close. They recently got themselves to P3, of course, which does help out a ton, and they might have a look at possibly trying to go for an extra move if they can. Now that does mean that in order for Heischler to defend, they will have to go on the offensive and look at overtaking Zingy. That could mean that we'll see Zingy drop to P3 suddenly. It could mean that it would fail completely, and they would just stay as they are. I say fail completely on Charlie's end, successfully for Heischler, because then they would stay in P2 where they want to be in the train, and they would not have a switch up, of course, which would be good. But we'll find out in a few moments' time. Will anything go wrong? Will anything go right? DRS is available. No overtake just yet, but incredibly close is Heischler, as they're all just saving the ERS. If you're the lead car, you know, you can do that. It's very difficult, and it does mean that the other cars will have a very easy chance of overtaking you. But if you just want to save as the lead car, then why not? If you're not the lead car and you're trying to catch up to the train, and you're the lead car in a different train, then it's not really ideal to save at the end of a straight like that. But, you know, it can still very much be the case. And I don't quite know where that's happened. I think it's in the pit lane. It is in the pit lane. That's not in the pit lane. I apologise, guys, for that. Anyway, it is a caution, no safety car, and we continue on our merry way. Zingy leads the way with Heischler sitting in P2. Frantic has a little bit of a gap to the cars behind now, so they should be careful, and I think it might be a little bit too late to say that now, because they could have lost the DRS. All of a sudden the top 3 start to push a lot harder, and it's going to be very, very difficult for Frantic to catch back up. 4 tenths already, and it will only extend. Will we get any overtake attempts right here? We've got Heischler going for the move into the final chicane. Charlie's not going to be in a position to make a move, as they'll just have to hold on behind, and they're not going to be able to get a better exit than these guys, interestingly, which is crucial for Zingy, because the double DRS, it does mean that Zingy doesn't get that DRS even if they get overtaken before that final corner. corner. So all of a sudden it leaves them incredibly vulnerable to Charlie. They have to really pay attention whether Charlie's got a good exit and is going to make sure they get that move done, or if they're just going to use the energy and try and get that move done. But they didn't in the end, and he was able to lift off the energy deployment and just relax a little bit. But that fighting there, just a tiny bit of fighting, wasn't enough to allow Frantic to get back in the battle, and that is unfortunately now the battle from going to 4 cars down to 3. In the meantime, Nifo has got themselves back into P5. JJ is following with them as well, so making good use of that, following Nifo's being incredibly quick, and should have been in that battle. And can see Frantic just up in front. Maybe a strategy call could be something that could work right here, but we'll find out that a little bit later on, of course, won't we? And yeah, Gilly not able to do so. Heisler has switched again, not quite making the move until the very end. I don't think anyone cut the corner right there, but Charlie was so close to the back of these guys. Zingy's again going to go for the move as they've got the DRS. So wait, what? Did Charlie not have the DRS or something? How did Zingy have the DRS and Heisler as well? Charlie must have been the lead car for a moment. I don't quite know, but they're all very close and racy with one another. I feel like that was a bit of a tap from the wall with Frantic there. I don't quite know what happened. It looks like visually they've got away with it, but they've got to be very careful. These three are racing incredibly hard, losing the rear as they are in the low traction zones of 6 and 7, but keeping the car in a straight line. More importantly, it works out absolutely fine. They've got to be incredibly careful. We get to the hairpin, and Charlie might have a go here on Heisler, as Heisler has a really problematic chicane, I should say. Then there's the hairpin. Locking the rears into the hairpin goes Heisler. It allows Charlie to go on the attack. They are going to attack, and they're trying to get in front of Heisler. Heisler's going to have to use ERS to defend, and Zingy all of a sudden could be flooded, but all of a sudden they call off the attack, and they save some ERS as they go into the final corners. And they once again go again. Heisler, are they going to go for the lead of the Grand Prix, or are they going to let this happen? They're just going to let it happen, and Zingy will continue. And when will we get to the strategy calls? We don't quite know. We will find out, won't we? In a couple of laps time we could see a pit stop. We see JJ and Nifo going side by side into the first few corners, and they just about managed to keep it together. That was actually Frantic on the medium tyres getting that brilliant start, so fair enough, they made the most of it at the time. A medium tyre also for Gilly and Burkle. Nifo on the hards, as the top 3 were as well. That is going to be a switch up in a very interesting place of the circuit. I didn't expect that overtake to occur. Charlie looks like they want to go for a move here on Zingy, but they back off immediately. All of a sudden, Heisler's made a mistake. Zingy's incredibly close, and there's big contact. Charlie is negatively affected. They lose out a lot of time. DRS is available for Zingy, and I think they're probably going to go straight through as they've got the momentum over the green car, and they can make that move quite nicely, and will continue to do so. Charlie gets a better exit with DRS over Heisler, so they're going to be using that ERS as well, and it's not going to be the case as they go defensive, swing their nose to the inside line. I think Zingy might have left some space but didn't actually want it, did Heisler. Charlie getting perfect exits but then backing off as they realise it's not really viable, because if they fight in these parts of the circuit, then all of a sudden Zingy will have an opportunity to break away, and they've got to be incredibly careful of that. Heisler goes for the move, and Zingy lets it be. Charlie got themselves a time penalty in the meantime, which I didn't realise whether it was recent or not. They got it, and it will affect their race later on, so they got to be incredibly careful. The strategy battle is still something that we can watch. Frantic has an issue, JJ has an issue, goes off the circuit but manages to keep it just about in a straight line. We'll get the DRS to help them. It is going to be Frantic and Nifo though, who we will quickly watch on board with as the top runners are going side by side again. We're going to have to go back to this, I apologise. Nifo is catching up, 1.8 seconds as these guys fight so hard. Zingy goes defensive, once again trying to hold on to the lead as they realise that, you know, I've got 2 two cars who want to try and overtake each other, and in turn they're going to try and overtake me, and all of this is helping Nifo to catch up. I may be wondering, since Zingy and Nifo are teammates, that he is defending to try and let his teammate catch up, and so far he's done a phenomenal job at getting that done. Charlie's got themselves another time penalty, 6 seconds of time penalties. In the meantime, Frantic wasn't able to follow Nifo with that pace right there, which is absolutely tragic. It's a big shame, but it's what's happened, and now Nifo's back in the top 4 battle without any time penalties. Absolutely perfect right there, and Zingy now can maybe not defend. We'll see how that goes. Will they now start using the energy on board with Heichler? You see that there's not a flashing light on the back of that purple car, whereas there was before, so you can really see what was going on. It brought Nifo back into the battle, and that's the beauty of the ERS modes now. You can use it as a defensive class to slow down the field and help out your teammates. That is going to be something to look out very much for the future, and Zingy was not saving any energy by the end of any of those straights, and Nifo is very much back in the equation, and with 6 seconds going to Charlie's name, they are currently sitting in P3 right now. That is going to be Charlie making the move, as Heichler's managed to get the move done. All of a sudden, I didn't see that happen. Must have been a mistake there for the Scotsman, and the Dutchman now goes through. DRS will be available for Zingy. When will they go for the move? They're probably going to wait until the back straight. The strategy calls will be coming in at some point soon. Now, if but basically, they just need to finish close to Zingy, and Nifo will continue to lead the Drivers' Championship. Mercedes already lead the Constructors. That is Nifo very close to the back of Charlie, almost looking at making contact. Charlie's trying to go for the offensive overtake on Zingy, but it's not quite working, and he also closes the door off. Whoa, what was that? That was interesting. Go side by side, as there's probably a little bit of frustration right there from Zingy. They've got the DRS. They managed to make it work incredibly. That's going to be Charlie, though, going to the lead of the Grand Prix. After all of that, incredible stuff. Heichler tries to send it to the inside. Muscled out right there. It's not going to work, and that is going to be Nifo and Heichler going side by side. Nifo on the traction, not able to get the job done, and they continue on their merry way. Now, Heichler is hoping that they get the DRS on the cars ahead, and they will get the DRS on the cars ahead, but Charlie leads the way. Zingy now in P2 and Heichler in P3 instead of Charlie, with Nifo, of course, still in this battle. JJ's not too far away. After all of that fighting, they're able to close down the gap a little bit, which was great to see, but still struggling for the moment. We've got Gilly, Peanuts, Frantic, Igor, and then further back is Burkle, who's unfortunately having a few issues. But it's the first race, and it is at Canada. I will not blame them any or at all for any track limit issues. Just try and get the experience in the game. And we'll move to the next race, Silverstone, which will be an absolute banger, of course, as it always is. Now, we continue with the race leaders, this time in the form of Charlie. Zingy, though, is going to change that immediately as they go to the inside line. Charlie looks like they were trying to hold on. Heichler's immediately going through. Nifo's going to try and make it round the outside to also get the move, but they're not going to get it. Aggressive on the throttle, but it won't happen. Those hard tyres around Canada, the track surface just doesn't add up, and it's not going to work, but they are still very close back behind right now. Using a lot of energy right there, so they really wanted to take the lead of the Grand Prix and maintain it, did Charlie, but they will not, and they're going to have to be incredibly careful because now they're vulnerable to the other Mercedes driver. Obviously it's multiplayer cars, but they are still racing for their respective teams. McLaren here for Charlie, and Heichler sitting in the Alpine car. Eagle gets a driver penalty, a time penalty in the meantime. Heichler incredibly close to the back of Zingy, not in a position to make an overtake. Nifo sitting right behind, just waiting for something to happen. The strategy calls will be coming in the next few laps, I am sure. Next 2 laps, I am calling it, and that is going to be an inside overtake attempt here for Heichler. No one goes into the pit lane, though. No one goes into the pit lane. DRS will be available for Heichler. They will maintain that position. Charlie not going to be able to attack with no ERS available to their name. And Nifo is so close to the back of these guys because of that. JJ does lose out a little bit as these guys don't fight this time around. But they're still there, and that's the most important thing. They do have time penalties, unfortunately. But we'll find out if that's going to be a problem later on. Frantic and Peanuts are on their own at the moment in their little battle. But nothing really to come from it too much. Zingy and Heichler switching positions already as Zingy makes that move. And are they looking to try and stay ahead for when they go into the pit lane? Now, because it's multiplayer cars, it's very, very likely that Zingy and Nifo won't be crossing over pit boxes. The only pit box I can imagine crossing over is Eagles and someone else's because they joined latest, didn't set a qualifying lap. Now, would that be a problem? Well, no, because Eagle's not in the pit lane, so they should be all fine. They'll get their own individual pit boxes, and they can pit at the same time. And is anybody going into the pit just yet? It will be Charlie. It will be Charlie going into the pit lane, and this undercut could be crucial. It could be very crucial. Whether it'll be enough, I don't quite know. But at this moment, these top three have to make sure that they do not fight. If they fight, they lose time. Charlie has an opportunity to get in front, not only get in front but also break away on the DRS or break away from DRS. Now, they're gonna have a bit of traffic, you know. They're gonna have traffic. Actually, I say that though. They come out nice in front of Frantic and they are all of a sudden in clean air. By 13 seconds, they'll be absolutely fine. And this could be crucial. It's not going to be easy because of the low traction and of course the cold tyres. With DRS, these guys will be loving this and they'll probably be using their energy a little bit. They're not really using that much, to be honest, to try and counter it. Maybe looking to use that on the outlap instead, but I assume they'll try and react to Charlie unless they really want to go a little bit longer and go for the complete opposite, go for that severe overcut. That could definitely work later, but with the DRS trains, with the minimal overtaking opportunities or risky overtaking opportunities, we could see things not be the case. But they still go a little bit longer. They're going to go 2 laps longer. Now, Charlie is catching a lot. We're going to watch and see as JJ will cross the line. We're going to see where Charlie crosses the line and then calculate that. So that's about 11.8 seconds. 11.8 seconds. Okay, so we'll wait until turns 7 to see the halfway mark. Really, it's not really the halfway mark. That's Eichler going off the circuit again. As we saw in Austria, they're going to lose a lot. They're going to lose the DRS. It now makes it a Mercedes 1-2 for the second time this season. DRS is available momentarily here for Nifo and Heichler. Nifo loosey-goosey on the rear end and will not be in DRS. Neither will Heichler. JJ is in DRS of Heichler and is going to be brought into the fight all of a sudden, and just about Nifo holds on without Heichler being able to get into their DRS, but JJ will activate that and that will be a nice gain for them. Pit stops will be coming about, I am absolutely certain of it. You can see Zingy dive into the pit lane, Nifo will follow, and here comes Heichler and JJ also going into the back right there, and that will not be a legit time penalty there for Heichler. JJ has managed to make a little bit of contact. I could see the speed that is carrying, and yep, that will be a removal there for Heichler, but they didn't get their front wing changed because they didn't expect to get damage, unfortunately, so JJ is going to have that damage. Charlie is going to be leading the Grand Prix, and by a long way as well. Charlie actually, of course, getting ahead of Frantic. Zingy also manages to stay ahead of Frantic. Nifo not, unfortunately, so that is absolutely incredible after those issues that Frantic had. I say those issues, Frantic actually went for the undercut, severe undercut, so they're on those hard tyres. They are on a racing strategy, which I didn't quite realise, so we'll see how that one goes a little bit later on. Now Heichler and Nifo are in their battle. JJ is 2 seconds behind, so they're out of this battle, unfortunately, immediately after the pit stops where they just joined just before it. Now Frantic has got a little bit of an interesting situation on their hands. Do they let the softer compound tyre drivers go? I think they probably should, because they can possibly get dragged along with it. They've got two of them after all. They can fight one, but to fight two softer tyre compound tyres, it will be absolutely incredibly impossible. Now, they do let the car go in front, Nifo, who actually dips a wheel in the grass, but still manages to keep it in a straight line. Charlie, 11.5 seconds. They do have that time penalty, so what they tried to do is they tried to go a little bit earlier and get that gap, and it might work, you know, it might work, but a 6 second, it's not a 3 second, so they're not 8 tenths away from the lead. They are unfortunately, I'm saying, yeah, 9 tenths of the... They're 3.8 tenths away. There you go. And now actually Zingy is catching as we speak. So he's doing a very good job, is the Scotsman. And whether they'll be able to catch up enough, I don't quite know, but it doesn't really matter too much to them because they can just catch up within time penalty range, or at least catch up but not be able to make an overtake. Now, Neff, of course, making that move. Frantic hasn't lost a position here to Heischler. DRS is available here to Frantic, so Frantic is going to be having a nice benefit to stay in the train, which is brilliant for their race. Heischler, it's not going to be so simple. They want to go for the move. They're using the energy, but they don't have enough to be able to push for that overtake. They're going to try and look for the exit with that medium tyre, but they've actually lost the car a little bit, and that's really going to cause them to struggle. Will they try and get it on the brakes? However, they will not. So hitting that outside wall isn't going to help. I think they've got away with it damage-wise, though. Now, they've got to hope that they can allow Frantic to still maintain that DRS, but 8 tenths with a slower tyre, it's already over, and Heischler unfortunately wasn't able to make that move, and it could cost them quite a lot if Nifo can now break away. DRS will be available for the Dutchman, and he'll overtake the other Dutchman, and I'll be catching the other Dutchman. That's a lot of Dutchmans, but those are, well, 3 of the only Dutchmen on the grid. Burkle is the other one. Now, Nifo does lead. Heischler did get a massive slingshot, but will not get the DRS just yet. They won't get it just yet. In the meantime, Zingy and Charlie haven't changed deltas to one another. Heischler doesn't get the DRS. Charlie, sorry, not Charlie, Nifo is very, very similar, very steady on the delta to Zingy at the moment. Still looking good, and they are actually in the net race lead, 2.5 seconds. That is now half a second lead here for Nifo because Zingy gets that 3 second time penalty, which is brilliant news for their race. And in the meantime as well, Heischler isn't able to catch up to Nifo. They've not got any energy. Nifo also struggling, but really, that's pretty difficult. They've also got pressure behind from Frantic, who is, of course, on that harder tyre. Will they be quicker later on in the Grand Prix? Theoretically, you'd say so, but we can never really know until it gets to the end of the Grand Prix. Charlie leads 2.2 seconds, maintaining that gap very nicely. All of a sudden now, Zingy is in a little bit more trouble than he thought he would have been, and that is only a 2.1 second margin that they've got. And really, you know, even though you've got time penalties, you want to try and go for the move just for safety purposes. But at this stage, with the gap staying as it is, I don't think that's going to be too possible. Charlie, if they can maintain the pace, even though on 2 lap older tyres, they should be good. They get themselves a 9 second time penalty. And now if we look at the gap here for the race leader, now all of a sudden Frantic is now sitting in P4, and I should say not P4, P3. So Frantic is on cue for a podium if that is the case. I don't think they'll be close enough to be able to get to Zingy, unfortunately, for their sake. But right now, Nifo is on cue to win the Grand Prix. Then it would be Zingy. Then it would be Frantic. Then it would be... that would be... Heischler. No, I say it should be actually Heischler. Then Frantic, because Heischler's got that 10 second, which is an unfair one for JJ making contact with the back of them, of course, into the pit lane at that point. Now, we will go back to the tyre situation to look at that strategy. because it's going to become ever so more important. Frantic, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately is not in a position to be able to make any moves. Heischler, again, isn't in DRS, but yeah, Frantic, not in DRS anymore. Those hard tyres just aren't able to be consistent enough to up to the level of that medium tyre, as it would be expected. It does mean that they lose that DRS. Heischler's so close, putting that pressure on. Nifo catches up to Zingy, but more importantly, Zingy catches up here to Charlie. So Charlie getting that extra time penalty, maybe got a bit spooked and has decided, you know what, I'm going to try and back off a little bit. I'm not going to be able to make it work over Zingy anymore, and very likely not going to be able to make it work over Nifo. But I might have a chance at still staying ahead of Frantic. Now, I say Frantic, they might be thinking, unless they're communicating with Heischler, that they can be ahead of Heischler, but with the 10 second that isn't actually legitimate here for Heischler, it will be Frantic that they're trying to hold off from, with the time penalties, of course. Now, if we look at that, time penalty wise, 8.3 seconds, they're still in a position to get that move, but it's going to be very slim. Frantic really has to make sure that they keep consistency and hope that there's battling up ahead, otherwise it could be over. And we are now having 10 laps remaining of the Grand Prix. Zingy's in DRS, Nifo is in a very strong position, Heischler's not able to catch up, Frantic's down the order. Well, still in contention though, possibly for later on if they can make those tyres work. Gilly sitting in P6 with fresher tyres, but unfortunately doesn't quite have the gap. JJ is P7. Igor has made that move over Peanuts and Burkle, and they're now trying to see if they can get to the Brit after joining late on, of course. This battle for the lead will once again bubble up, but we have got Burkle in a lovely black and orange livery, a bit of purple, of course, as its default. The default livery here for Peanuts. Igor once again in that lovely green and purple and black livery. One of the best in my opinion, but I might have a bit of bias to that, of course. JJ's got the very nice red and gold livery, and it's not the default one that you get because they've got the Champions Edition. Gilly has managed to get himself a lovely McLaren coloured car, and they are actually driving for McLaren. Frantic right there in the purple, yellow, green, mint colour, and purple and orange into the lead of the Grand Prix. All of a sudden, using the energy as well to see if they can try and escape from Charlie. It seems Charlie's not got any energy really left. They've got a little bit to try and push, but they've made that move, and now they're trying to make it even further by securing it. And you can see what Zingy's doing here. He wants to get that clean air. Although it wouldn't have affected him really earlier on because they were not really close enough to be affected by the dirty air. But they also don't want to be fighting Charlie because they want to break away. They want to break away from their teammate and they want to win this Grand Prix. They don't want Nifo to get that win. Of course they want Nifo to do well, but Nifo currently leads the championship. Even if Zingy wins and Nifo gets P2, it will stay as it is, as Nifo will continue to lead, but it will be a much smaller gap rather than extending it by another 4 points. Now if we look at the fastest lap right now, it is to Nifo as well. So very, very, very quick at the moment, and almost in DRS range right here of Charlie. They probably get that within the next lap, to be honest. A lot of drivers are struggling with energy deployment at the moment, except from, I was going to say except from Zingy, but not actually Zingy. Zingy doesn't have DRS of the lap car in front, and that is Burkle, but they will quickly be able to make that move, I'm sure, as Burkle gets the blue flag, and they do move out the way to the inside. I say they move out the way, they do. Lovely stuff. And Zingy gets a nice clean run into turns 3 and 4, which is crucial because they don't want to have blocked vision into those corners. Now Nifo has caught up. Heischler will catch up in the meantime. Heischler will be looking to make this move because it does matter. It does make a difference. Where Heischler finishes, according to where they cross the line, is very likely to be where they actually finish. We're going to double check that it is a 10 second. It is a 10 second, so that is a speeding the pit lane, and that will be very, very crucial. Now Nifo doesn't get those blue flags. Well, sorry, Burkle doesn't get the blue flags for Nifo. They get the blue flags, of course, for Charlie. They're now going to try and hope that they can make that move. They do get it on the traction. They'll get the DRS. Charlie will not get the DRS. but I don't think Nifo's going to make that move just yet. They'll make it into turn 1 and see if they can break away. Heischler might not have that luxury depending on if Charlie fights or not. DRS available, ERS is being used, and they'll get that toe. They'll get a nice advantage as they get to the braking zone, but they're not going to be close enough to make that move. They still have the advantage on tyre wear, but Heischler's going to be super close. That's a mistake there for Charlie, and that is going to be incredibly frustrating right here for Nifo. Heischler's so close to the back of these guys, and it is all on right here. In the meantime, while the battle is happening, Zingy is escaping very, very nicely. Still, as it stands, Nifo would lead the Grand Prix, as we've only got a couple more laps remaining of it, but it's not going to take much for Zingy to break away and be able to take that. There's contact with the cars behind. There's contact. Heischler goes off. Nifo goes off. Manages to rejoin absolutely fine and still within DRS, so they didn't really lose much. Charlie goes off. That's going to make Nifo go through. I don't know what happened there. Charlie just completely missed the corner, and DRS will be available for the Dutchman. They'll be able to defend nicely. It's not like it's going to be a blockage here for Nifo. They'll get a bit of air wall, of course, but it does help them with that DRS. Now Heischler sits behind with DRS. It is game on, and it still is Nifo leading the Grand Prix right now. But Heischler, they are going to be in a very interesting position. Whether Nifo realises that it is not a legit speeding penalty, I don't quite know. I hope that they don't try and give this up, because in Saudi Arabia in the F122 game they did so, and they lost the race victory to End Andrews, who's got an unfair speeding penalty for the pit lane. Losing the traction though is Heischler, who is in a crucial position, but they've got a full battery. They've got a full battery. Nifo's got to try and react to this, otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. Now I want to quickly have a look at something. Go to the telemetry and we'll see Charlie isn't running out of fuel. They're just not on the pace. If they got damage to their car, I don't quite know, but they drop back, and it's not looking too easy at all, and it will be a battle to the end for Heischler and Charlie. Zingy is about to start the final 5 laps of the Grand Prix, and they continue, and they do lead for momentarily the first time. Heischler makes that move, and now this is going to be a strategic mind game battle all the way to the end on who's going to get DRS at the very end of the Grand Prix to make that move. Now Heischler, are they going to try and push? They know what's at stake, and they've got to make sure that they keep Zingy within the 3-second time penalty range. This is a race victory on its way, quite possibly. Zingy has got to push. They have to push, otherwise it might not be over. That slingshot, of course, did help them gain that immediate time. Zingy breaks away a little bit further as they continue. Nifo, will they try and make that move? I think they have to make that move regardless. It will also help their teammate out if they make that move, because it will slow them down, and they will be able to get another 1-2, this time instead of Nifo taking the victory in Austria. It will be Zingy. It will be twice that Zingy will cross the line first, at least, though. Now, back straight. Zingy has managed to break away quite nicely as well. Nifo will go through, as I don't think Heischler's going to fight that one. They are going to let it happen, and I think they're going to try and break away. No, they're not. They're going to go side by side. It looked like it, but they do back off eventually. Now, they are going to try and use a slingshot situation to catch up to Zingy. They'll get the DRS, but I don't know if they're really going to be able to go for it. I think what they've decided right here, Nifo, is to save some energy to try and allow them to try and secure P2 a little bit later on, because this is going to be incredibly difficult for them to be able to fight. They are saving a lot of energy instead of just using the medium and then saving in other places. It seems to be more difficult to save around this circuit than most other circuits, to be honest. Whether that's the truth or not, I don't know. Nifo does save a nice amount. They turn off the energy and allow Heischler to go through, who is looking very strong with that battery, and they could be able to get this P2 now all of a sudden, as that is a second gap that Zingy has, who is leading the Grand Prix only just for a couple of laps right now. It was looking very touch and go. They've managed to get it under control a little bit as P2 and P3 are in their situation. In the meantime, Frantic right now is sitting in a very strong P4 as Charlie continues to lose time. And Nifo goes for the move into the final corner, as that is an interesting call. They'll get DRS. ERS is being used from Heichler as he goes super defensive, trying his absolute best to make it work. It's going to be side by side into the first few corners. The inside line is now available for Nifo, and he muzzles his way through back into P2. Lap 33 out of 35. This is interesting. I will say that. Heichler gets a 3 second and makes contact with the wall. I do not believe it. I do not believe it. Heichler is going to lose out massively, and it's going to be Frantic who goes through without a time penalty. Heichler has to make this move if he wants to get the job done, but with damage, that is not going to be easy. I don't know what to say other than that is so devastating. And Charlie will be catching up and maybe looking at that overtake as well, but they do have a lot of time penalties to their name, so I doubt they'll be able to get that move done. And all of a sudden it's a 1-2 again for Mercedes. This time they are not so close together, but it is very strong. Frantic right there holds position as they are, well, not being challenged. It's Charlie and Heichler that switch positions right there. Heichler not able to hold on. Charlie's going to start pushing. With the damage that Heichler has, it might be just possible here for them to be able to break away. Will Heichler go for the fastest lap instead? They will. They will go for the fastest lap. They are going to have to come out ahead of JJ, although JJ does have a lot of time penalties, I believe. 12 seconds. So they're going to have to try and look for clean air, but Gilly's right behind JJ, so that's an interesting call. Whether they'll come out ahead, I don't quite know, but we'll find out in a few moments time, of course. And the closest battle right now is Peanuts and Igor for the final stages of the Grand Prix right here. JJ and Gilly both come out ahead, and also Peanuts and Igor will manage to jump the Dutchman, who is going to be super far behind. Of course, they had to serve that time penalty that they really didn't want to serve. They also had to get a front wing change. They will get that fastest lap attempt, but they've lost out a lot. They should have probably continued, really, but they didn't. And that's going to be that. It's very unfortunate. Charlie is trying to catch up to the cars ahead, and we could see a move. We're already going to see a move as Charlie sends it to the inside. I'm incredibly confused where this is all came from. They saved, they slowed, but now they make the late charge as Frantic gets a 3 second. It's still going to be enough as long as Frantic doesn't get another time penalty. But yeah, interesting stuff right here. Igor and Peanuts will continue to fight. Will we see a move at the very end for them? I say that it's not it's the penultimate lap still for them at the moment. DRS is available for the Swedish driver. They're on the attack. They're using the energy, and Igor's going to have to let that one go. Was that the wrong call? Igor, will they make that move immediately back, or are they going to let that DRS be theirs for the last lap of the Grand Prix? We'll have to find out in a few moments' time, but we're already to the final stages of the lap for this man right here, who is going to now take the lead of the Grand Prix, not take the lead of the championship, but close up nicely in the Friday tier. Zingy comes around the final few corners to win for the second time in Montreal. Zingy wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Awesome job from them in the end. It wasn't easy at all. And Nifo, what a day. What a day they have had. P2 in the end. I think they've got to be happy with that one, considering all the factors. I know that they'll be hoping for more. They'll be wishing that they had more. It's not going to happen. Charlie crosses the line in P3. Frantic's going to get that P3 in the end, and Charlie will take that P4. JJ is not going to take the P5 as they're celebrating already, but Gilly is going to make that move and get that P5. So maybe a little bit of an early celebration right here for JJ, and Gilly will get that position in the end. I don't know. They're still celebrating, and Gilly takes the P5. P6 here. Peanuts and Igor to the line. Who's it going to be? Igor on the DRS and the ERS. It's going to be Igor just about. I think they made the move. Time penalty wise, it wasn't quite so easy, but they did make it by 0.009 seconds. Absolutely awesome with those two across the line at the very end. And that has been your Canadian Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. That was an awesome one, as Canada never fails to disappoint, does it? Zingy takes the win, Nifo and P2, then we got Frantic, Charlie Gilly, JJ Heischler, Igor, Peanuts, Burkle, and then DNFing earlier on was Krish, with a fastest lap going to Charlie as well. We go through the race director just in case, as it is, I said in qualifying, it is Canada. We will double check. We don't usually need to do it too much in qualifying, but in the race, it is very important. We'll be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Canadian Grand Prix. That was a pretty crazy one indeed. We start the interviews with Frantic. Brilliant pace at the start. At the end it wasn't quite what you wanted with the strategy, of course, but did you still enjoy it? But also, a nice little move at the end there. Time penalties.
Thank you for having me. It was such a tough race. Not only because the track is so narrow, but also because I had to pee, since the start of qualifying.
Right.
And it got so bad that I was considering to retire the car. It was hurting so much. But luckily I was able to let it all out. And but you know what they say, after rain comes thunder, so I need to clean up the mess I made. And other than that, yeah, really enjoyable out there. I enjoyed the race, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I hope the rain and thunder have cleared up. Thank you very much for that very precise information. And well done on that result. It was looking pretty good. A brilliant start as well from you, regardless of what tyre you're on. That was awesome. Now, whether you're racing there or not at Great Britain, I should say, Great Britain, it's a sprint race. Is that a sprint race that you kind of like? Do you like sprint race formats or not really?
I do, and I think as long as I go to the toilet beforehand, I'll be fine. So looking forward to it.
Does it not just make you faster if you go to the not go to the toilet?
It hurts like so bad.
It's not worth the risk. All right, thank you very much, Frantic, and we'll see you next time. Really well done today.
Thank you.
And we move on to the next one, Charlie, that was tough. Oh no, I've muted myself. I don't know what's going on there. There, I muted myself for some reason there. Anyway, Charlie, that was tough. Not easy at the end. I'm all over the place. Now, first of all, you were in the battle for the lead, of course, having a very nice fight all the way. Strategy call. Do you think that was the right one?
I don't know. I tried the undercut. I was ahead by 2 seconds. After the pit stop, so I tried very hard to stay in front. Sweat actually was dripping from my forehead, but yeah, once the rear tires hit 25%, it was actually impossible to drive the car anymore. And
right,
once it wore down even more, I had to actually pit for new tires because the car was barely drivable. So yeah.
I see. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Nice little charge back there, of course. Unfortunately, time penalties didn't quite help you out, though. Whether you're there at Silverstone, it's a circuit that's a little bit easier for time penalties. Do you think you would be excited to go there, and will a sprint race help you out, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I've already had practice on Silverstone. Canada is a track I don't really have any experience on, to be honest. So yeah, I haven't also done any practice beforehand, so yeah, penalties were, I think, yeah, not really avoidable. So yeah, I don't know. If I wanted to be fast, then yeah, I had to take the penalties, unfortunately.
Yep, it's fair enough. Well, you've got experience at Canada now, so you know for next time. Thank you very much, Charlie, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we move on to Heisler. That was so close. It looked like you were going for the win right there, with obviously the 10-second not being legit. Do you think you could have had it without that little mistake, or do you think Zingy just had the pace?
I think I could have got it. I was planning on just staying behind him and pitting same lap as him. Since I've learned from the Silverstone VRL race, it's just better to pit on the same lap. There's not really anything to gain in an undercut or overcut, sadly, on this game. So if I could have stayed with him in his DRS the whole time, but I had the same as Charlie, where once my rear tires just hit 25%, it was really undrivable. I luckily could keep it most of the times on track, except for the one time I just missed the braking zone. I wasn't paying attention for one bit and missed the braking markers. Jesus. Yeah, I gotta say I've seen some weird driving today. I know that Singy just turns off his ERS when he hold me up, but it's really fucking dangerous in my opinion how he drove today, how he held me and Charlie up. I know why he did it, but it's just I think there should be a rule for it because this was just really dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the end, that spin was just like I said, the rear tires.
Right. Do you know what the tire temperatures were? Were they way too hot?
No,
Was
they
it just
were
wear?
like the rear was on like indeed the max it can be, but like if you go a little bit above the tire temps, you still you lose like 0.5% of the grip.
Right.
So it shouldn't be that big of a issue. So
Right.
it's definitely not the temps; it's just the wear.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you gave it a very good shot, and it was very entertaining to watch. So thank you very much for some great racing. Canada. No, I've said it again. Canada. Great Britain. Silverstone. Is that a circuit that you think you'll have good success at if you're there?
Yeah, since the patch I've tried some things with setup all the time, like every race I did so far, and I gotta say so far this race was the one I learned the most. I kind of know where to go now with setup,
Mhm.
and looking at the VRL race I had at Silverstone, I think I will definitely be in a shot to win again.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you very much. Really well done today. Great effort with the pace as well. And I hope it goes a bit better next time. We could see you on the top step. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we move on to Gilly. Gilly, it was an interesting one. Of course, qualifying. Quite a few laps you got in there. We're trying to go as fast as you can, I guess. Yeah, can you take us through it? No time penalties for you, though.
Yeah, I think it's probably the first time touching the track in this game, so I just wanted to get laps in quali. And I did set my fastest lap on quite old tyres, so it worked. But I think I sort of maximised what I could do without a cheeky safety car, which I was praying for. Yeah, I think I definitely, like, JJ was a lot quicker than me. Highs obviously should have been in front of me, so P5, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Of course, no safety cars are really coming out recently. I don't know what the situation is with the game. I think maybe the game is a little bit tentative on that, but yeah, we'll find out. I'll be honest, there wasn't any DNFs on circuit, so it was all voluntarily retired cars. So I guess that's why we didn't get any full safety cars, which is a shame because it doesn't bring you back into the race. But I think all things considered, I think that's fair enough. You got the extra position at the end as well from JJ, so I think that's a P5 if I remember correctly. So well done with that. Great Britain, your second home Grand Prix. Do you think you could be good there if you're racing, and is a sprint race something that you like over qualifying, just qualifying?
I reckon I'll be the best. Easy win.
Fair enough. Redemption from a few seasons ago against Bassoon. You don't recall?
No.
Fair enough. Here, the time penalty you didn't, unfortunately, just missed out in the end. But I think you can do it this time. You'll be absolutely fine. And I will be honest, I've seen you drive there, and you are very annoyingly quick. So thank you very much, Gilly, and I hope it goes well there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we move on to Peanuts. Peanuts. That was a tricky one, but a nice little battle in the end, at the very, very end, to the very, very last meter. Unfortunately, just missing out across the line. Can you take us through your race?
Well, I would say that the pace was quite shocking. I was pretty happy with my qualifying. I felt like it was all I could extract. I haven't played this game enough, and I also just got a massive skill issue with outline. I feel like I did quite well, racking up the time penalties. The pace, I think everybody is quite shocked with my pace, because I mean, me and Gilly were really pushing the guys in front of us to their limits, and it was just fun to see they were so quick out there. Give them a real run for money.
Yeah, it was very, very close, and you did really put the pressure on. But no, time, patience, getting that memory and getting the experience. Experience is key with no line, and it's something that's just going to have to come with time, unfortunately, as much as you really want it. But it will be there, and you've got the racecraft. You know that you have the racecraft to be able to fight at the front. It's just about unlocking those little few things with that no line. So I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. Just stick at it, and it will be all good. Silverstone, whether you race there or not, is that a circuit you kind of know a bit more than Canada?
Yeah, it's a circuit I definitely have raced around a lot more, but without line, it's very difficult for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it will be this time, but I remember last time when we were doing like you can't really call it a silly season, but it was kind of
The launch season.
jumping. Yeah, exactly. The launch season we did, and it was dreadful because I mean, just removing the line, the track is so different for some reason. It's like uncanny.
It feels a lot faster as well because you've just got a clear track in front of you without a blockage. But you've got now a bit of experience there, so it might be an advantage. I feel like the braking markers are a lot easier at Great Britain than Canada, with Canada being quite a narrow track, so I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. And it's a sprint race, so you get 2 opportunities effectively, so I think you'll be good there. It'll be absolutely fine. You've got it in you, it's just about unlocking it. But thank you very much, Peanuts. I hope we see you race again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
And we move on to Nifo. Nifo, it was very close at the start, of course, in the train. A couple laps in, it didn't quite go to plan. I'll let you talk about that in a few moments. But a brilliant recovery, another P2, and you continue to lead the championship.
Yeah, it was quite a chaotic one. I mean, first in qualifying, I knew my laps, I kept making mistakes. I knew there was a lot of time in there, but I needed to improve 6/10 to Gijs, I think. But I was like, okay, well, but I could get close to that because I was basically making so many mistakes. And then the final lap, with the same guy who I crashed with, I was trying to get out the way of back markers, and he was weaving around. I didn't know where he was going, so it rattled me. I get a bit annoyed, and then I get this, and next lap is validated, so I couldn't improve. Yeah, the starting position was okay, but then the start was less fine because I got scared of Frantic, who dived me into turn 1, and then I was scared, and I was avoiding both Frantic and Charlie. I was trying, but I hit Charlie a little bit, so that's on me. I could have done more to avoid it, but I kind of got scared. But at least I'm far enough that if I get a penalty, I'm far enough that I don't lose a position. But yeah, but that was my fault. So sorry to Charlie. Yeah, the rest of the race, I mean, I got dived by the guy twice. Once I survived, and the other time he taps me in a non-existent gap. Then some nice team games with Ziggy made me catch up a little bit. I needed to push myself as well, but he helped a whole lot, not driving to his full pace, but I think still drove fairly. And then in the end, I returned the favor with Gijs. I saw the 10-second he was getting hit by JJ, so I knew the 10-second was not probably not his fault. So I knew they didn't have a penalty, and Ziggy was like, well, you know, you can. Yeah, I kind of know what. So I kind of want your help, so I helped him try and keep Gijs out of that time, interval, but without driving too slowly, which worked in the end. He spun in the end, so then the final 2 laps was just trying to get the 3 seconds, but didn't have the pace. The rear tires were gone, but yeah, it was a chaotic one for sure.
Yeah, it was a great race, a great recovery, and you were very close at the end, to be honest. It's not far away at all. You didn't get the fastest lap in the end, but you still lead the championship, and Zingy is very close behind. Mercedes. Racing Bulls is Saturday. Mercedes extend their championship lead. We go to Great Britain. Do you like that circuit?
I love racing on it. I think it's good for overtakes, but it is not the one where I'm very quick. So
fair enough. Well, I'm sure you'll be fine. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Well done today.
Thank you.
And we move on to our race winner, Zingy. It's not the championship lead, but it is a victory. Your second victory around Canada. Are you happy with that?
Yeah. It was very good executed race from both me and Nifo. I have to thank him, of course, for helping me. But in qualifying, it was very difficult. I don't know if anyone else had this issue, but I couldn't see the last chicane apex. the first one. So I was just kind of praying that I hit the apex, and I managed to get it 2 or 3 times. In the last lap, I kind of messed up, so I got P2, and Haj obviously had the raw pace in qualifying, but in the race I felt as though I could hold my own, and obviously Niffle had contact with that new guy, and I thought, well, I have to help him because I don't know if I'm going to win this race without his help. So I helped him, he helped me. I just made a mistake, and we kind of just cruised to that 1-2 afterwards. So it's a very good result for both of us, and I can't thank Niffle enough for the help.
Yeah, do you think if you didn't help Nifo earlier on, you would have still been able to get that victory at the end?
I think, no, I think it would be very different because Haj wouldn't have been put under that extra pressure, and he probably wouldn't have made that mistake. And obviously, I wouldn't have anyone to help me, and Charlie was behind because of the tyres. So I think it would have been a straight fight between me and Haj, and towards the latter part of the stint, it looked as though I had a bit more pace. But I'm not too sure, so yeah.
Yeah, time penalties, it wasn't easy either. But you did a very good job. You managed to make it work, and you closed up to the championship nicely, looking to take the lead, I guess, if you can. Great Britain, is that a circuit that you like with a sprint race as well? You are a racecraft kind of guy. That should help you, surely.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. It's going to be difficult because Great Britain's obviously a track that you can't really do much, and you can. And actually, in this race today, I think it was high. She was at 8 tenths, 9 tenths behind. I was dropping him, and then he would just catch up from the DRS, and it was horrendous. So with Great Britain having what is it, 2 DRS zones, it's going to be very difficult, and obviously there's a lot of flat out sections. So I think it's just going to be a case of who plays it the best, and I think obviously we've seen it before, and I think I can do it again.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you very much, Zingy. Really well done today. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time. And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the Canadian Grand Prix for the Saturday tier. We'll see you on Tuesday for some practice lobbies, and we will see you on the next weekend on Friday and Saturday for the Great British Grand Prix. Enjoy Sunday if we don't speak to you then. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.